This is your girl, Kimberly Harris. Welcome to the Bitter Greens podcast. This week, we're going to talk about getting uncomfortable so that we can be comfortable. And a part of that is clearing out the clutter. Last episode, we talked about deviation and how some deviation from our plan or goals is not devastation, but it leads us to exactly where we are meant to be. The other side of that is that sometimes life requires us to go off course a bit. We've either decided to take care of a loved one or to be a stay-at-home mom or dad so that our spouses or significant others can live their dreams. Regardless of the reason for the postponement, it just seems like if we're meant to do it, that desire or that nudging on our spirit never dies. I don't know about you, but there's been a lot of times when I know I was supposed to be doing something or I had this idea and then I just pushed it aside or sat on it and it just kept showing up in my life. Like it would be in a conversation that I'm having with somebody. I see something similar on TV or it just be that nudge like, girl, you know you're supposed to be doing this, right? And then it's just like, all right, how do I make this happen? Right. And so sometimes that nudge is just relentless. The good news is that we get to decide how we move. If that nudge is so significant or that dream is something that we know that we should be pursuing, we get to decide how we're going to live out that dream. The other side of it, unfortunately, is that if we do decide not to move, we could live a life of regret and that regret could turn into bitterness. The good news is that we get to choose. We get to choose. We get to choose how we want to live our life. And interestingly enough, I had gone to Costa Rica a few years ago now with some girlfriends that I met at the Live the Life That You Want tour with Oprah and a couple of girlfriends that I already knew. When we were in Costa Rica, I decided to write in the sand, live the life that you want. And on Facebook, the memory came back up. It was a reminder to me that I'm back on track, right? I'm back on track. And at the time when Oprah had this conference, I remember being super pressed. Like, I'm going to get all of what Oprah got to give because, I just want to invest in myself in this way. So much so my girlfriends didn't know if they were going or which ticket they were going to buy because it was not an inexpensive ticket. And so I was like, okay, I don't know what y'all doing, but I knew that I needed to invest in myself. So I purchased a single ticket and just, winged it. And I often do that. I think it's important for you to be able to spend time by yourself and then also not be limited to what you do for yourself based on other people. So anyway, and they ended up coming, which was great. And then we ended up connecting at lunch and on our breaks. And I was able to meet some phenomenal women who at that time, definitely was meant to be in my life with the mark that they made in my life. So it's just, the dots, the universe is always connecting. But anyway, it didn't even matter though if I had friends because the energy in the room, in the space was so electrifying that nobody felt like a stranger. I mean, it was just, I can't even explain to you how many beautiful women from all over the place were in a space and there for a positive reason. I remember two women specifically. There was one woman, older white woman, I think she was from Alabama, and she had this very thick accent. We're in the line to use the restroom, and she says, "It was so good, I almost peed my pants." And I said, "Pirates of Penzance?" And we chuckled, and if you've watched Pretty Woman as many times as I have, you know the reference, but we laughed. And then the lady that was sitting next to me, she was actually from Trinidad and Tobago. And we laughed, and we cried, and we high-fived like through the whole time. And, I mentioned these distinctions in women in terms of race, in terms of geographic location, in terms of where they live, because this is what brought me to Soulful Connections. No matter where we live, no matter what age we are, no matter the race, we all have things in common. We all have a common thread. And if we take the time to connect, more times than not, that connection is exactly what we need in the moment. And with those two women specifically, I left my conversations with them feeling so full, just so full, exactly what I needed. And so I encourage everyone and I push myself, to even get out and network and talk and put myself in places that wouldn't be my typical or would be outside of my comfort zone, because those connections are absolutely critical in our development. And we don't even know, how much of an impact we might make on another person and or just our story touching someone that doesn't doesn't look like us, but needed to hear it. And so I'm kind of going off on a tangent, but it was really just a powerful place to be. So with that said, over the last couple of years, like 2018, 2019, I had to postpone some of my goals. It was for a good purpose, but life happened and I deviated from the quote unquote plan. But I realized, and because I believe that deviation isn't always devastation, I needed to go through that course to get exactly where I am now. And I'm thankful for that. 2020 came in with a vengeance, like really 2020, this is what we're doing. But I knew that regardless of what was going on, I needed to get back to the middle. I love that song by India Irie. It is a reminder to come back to the middle, come back to who you are and do exactly what it is that you're meant to be without the ego and all of the things. And so right on track. Get the memory from Facebook, live the life that you want. And we won't even talk about discipline and motivation during this episode. That we'll have to save that for later. But that is very important because as we navigate through self-improvement and personal development, it's not easy. Discipline and motivation will need to be present, especially when we always have that self-sabotage that lurks. I mean, it's always waiting. That naysayer in our head, that, discourager is what I call it, trying to convince us that we are not who we are or not who we're called to be. And we have to kind of quell that voice and, when it comes. So we'll talk about discipline and motivation another time. But what I would like you to do is my challenge to you as you are getting uncomfortable to be comfortable, setting up or continuing on the process to live the life that you want. I want you to remove the clutter in your life. And that clutter could be mental, emotional, or physical things that are in your way and preventing you from pursuing your goals. What does that look like for you? So when we talk about your mind, your thoughts, I talked about that discourager. How can we put strategies in place where when that discourager pops up, we're able to say, not today, not today. And I say that I have, imposter syndrome that pops up or something that might well, I don't know if you really want to do that, or is it really time? And I would like, nah, dog, today we're not doing this. I'm going to push forward. And sometimes if we let that discourager get the best of us, it talks us out of getting out of our comfort zone, doing some of the things that we need to be doing. But also it's a liar sometimes. I hate to use that word, but it is a liar. Sometimes your thoughts are lying to you. It's not true. What you're convincing yourself to believe or what your discourager is placing in your brain is not true. And so sometimes you got to check it like, nah, dog, today, not today. And as a matter of fact, you're a liar. That's not true about me. Once we acknowledge those things and have a strategy in place, then we're able to address it instead of me saying, oh man, I can't do it, or I'm a little too fat, or I want to wait until I do this, until I get that, or I need this. It's like, no, start now and perfect later, but I am qualified to do it now, whatever qualified means. So clearing the clutter, confronting that discourager in your head so that it can get out of the way of what you want for yourself. The other thing is space. Space looks like what's in your phone, what's in your closet, what's in your car. Some of that clutter in your physical space leaves you in I hate to be dramatic, but sunken place, but it is depressing, right? When you have things that are out of order or sloppy or messy, your apps are all over the place. You got a million pictures or text messages and you have no space on your phone. That is clutter. So let's look at some items that we can clear out of our personal space. This has been my project for like 3 weeks. I haven't done it yet, but I have to clean out my closet or I'm going to lose it. I know that it's there. So it's that clutter in the back of my mind in terms of, the space that needs to be cleared out. The other part is health. This is your mental health, emotional health, and physical health. So what do you need to do to get back on track or stay on track with your physical health? When you feel good, you move about life in a better way. When you look good, you feel better. When you're healthier, able to manage your weight and maintain, that's when we feel at our best. So So what could we do? It doesn't necessarily have to be physical health if that's not an issue for you, but what can we do with our health physically, emotionally, or mentally that we need to put into place to clear out our clutter? Then lastly, and this is not, and we'll probably talk about this again, but this is what I want you to focus on for this week, choosing one of these spaces, or if you can handle it, choose more than one of these places where you're going to start to clear out the clutter. And the last one, and this seems to be a cloud over our heads when we can't get a handle on it, but finances. What clutter do I need to clear out as it relates to finances so that money is a tool and it's not controlling me and I get to the place where I have financial freedom? And so that might look like, let me sit down and actually write out a budget. Let me see what's coming in and what's going out and how I'm managing that. That could be, let me cancel some of these subscriptions. It just doesn't make any sense that I have 7 subscriptions on my iPhone and I barely use them, but they're like $6.99, $7.99, $10.99. So how can I reduce spending in areas that are definitely not a need? I posted some time ago on my Instagram at bittergreens1 about, it was like 10 things you can do now to save money. But one of the things that sticks out to me was, it said, if you're going to purchase something, think about how much money you make per hour and then do the calculation to see if it's worth it. So if I make $10 an hour and I'm going to buy a $50 meal, it's going to take me 5 hours to earn that money to eat this meal. So is it worth it? I really, really want you to think about this week. Identify where you can clear the clutter in your space, in your thoughts, in your health, and your finances, so we can live the life that we want. Get uncomfortable so you can be comfortable. Thank you guys for joining me this week. If you like the podcast, please follow me on Spotify. You can also subscribe on iTunes. I am also on Instagram at bittergreens1. So if you like quotes and want to drop comments about the episodes, you can meet me there. I look forward to talking with you guys next week. Now go win the day. Don't let the day win you.